Hi, I'm Rachel here with my cat Leia, and I'm going to do the AuthorTube tag. Camp Nano has started, so it feels like a really good time. And actually, I just started to film this video when my computer completely crashed and I lost this really long script that I made for myself, so I think I'm going to try to wing it, hopefully make it a little shorter, although it could be the opposite. Ramble may happen, weird words. But here we go. This tag was created by Jenna the Dark One, so I'll include a link to her video down below. Number 1, how did you find out about AuthorTube? I'm pretty sure I found out about AuthorTube the same way I found out about most things on BookTube, which is through Steve Donahue's channel. Number 2, what genre do you primarily write in? I believe I write literary contemporary fiction. I always feel a little weird about saying literary. It feels like something that a bunch of bespectacled reviewers and literature professors should bestow on me. But technically speaking, I think the difference between mainstream and literary is that mainstream is more plot-driven and literary is more about themes. And I am really not good at plot. It haunts my dreams. The thing that really inspires me to write is usually about what certain event might affect a certain character or family or relationship or what have you. Much more thematically driven. Number 3, what is your favorite writing tense, POV, and age bracket? I write adult fiction, and it is usually in close third person. I feel like close third person is like the best of both worlds in some ways, in that you get to be really close to the character, but you also have just enough distance to see slightly beyond them. That being said, the short story I have on submission now is in first person, so... And I write in past tense primarily. I think that the other tenses are more experimental, but I guess I see things in terms of the traditional narrative of something happened and I'm telling the story. Number 4, are you a plotter, a pantser, or a plantser? I believe I am a plantser. I want to become more of a plotter, but it's the plot thing again. I tend not to think of things in very plotty terms, and I have outlines in my mind that are sometimes vague, sometimes a little more defined. I definitely want to get better at doing the progression, at least of character arcs or something, particularly with longer pieces. I mean, sometimes the problem is that something that is really a short piece, I start as a long piece, and nothing is happening, but the solution is to make it a short story. And I think fewer people in general outline their short stories. But for novellas and novels, it's something I definitely want to get more into. Number 5, are you self-published, published, or yet to be published? When I was a preteen, I won a short story contest and got published in this literary anthology for children. One of the things that was a really big deal at the time was that they illustrated my story. I really thought that was the bee's knees. I was so excited by that. I think I'd still be excited now. And then in college, I had a poem published in my annual college anthology my freshman year. And also, I do have experience with journalism and nonfiction and some publications in that area. But I'm really sticking with fiction in this video. And my most recent publication, my first as an adult, is my short story Skydiving in Minerva Rising Literary Journal. This feels like my jumping off point. And I currently have a short story out on submission now. Number 6, what publishing company, literary agent, or printing company is your ideal goal? I really want to stay with indie presses. I write smaller, more literary fiction, and I'd like to be recognized by publishers of smaller literary fiction. I'm working on a novella right now, and actually Minerva Rising, which published my short story, has a novella contest, and they're a great community, so I have my eye on them. I also have my eye on an indie press, Fig Tree Books, which deals in the Jewish American experience. I haven't written anything based on the Jewish American experience, but it's something in my reading that really interests me, keeping up with contemporary Jewish American and broader Jewish authors and fiction especially. And I'm hoping one day, or thinking maybe one day, that I will write something in that vein, and then Fig Tree Books will definitely be on my radar. Number 7, what AuthorTube videos can we expect from your channel? I've been watching a lot of Jenna Moresi this weekend, a rather popular self-published author, and she motivates herself a lot with these quarterly goals videos, and I think I want to try my hand with that with my writing goals. Actually, this is the start of April, so it technically starts the spring quarter of 2017, and I have some goals in mind of what I want to accomplish with my writing in the next 3 months. Sometime at the end of June or the beginning of July, I believe I'll make a video. I'll talk about what I accomplished and didn't accomplish with those goals and set new ones for myself for the summer quarter. And I think if I fail, I'm going to punish myself with the Septa Unella from Game of Thrones gif and MIDI of shame, shame, shame. And if I do well, I will reward myself with some gratuitous self-congratulations. I also really like the Author's Answers series that J.D. Archer does. I'll link to his playlist below. He has some really thoughtful questions on there, and I think they'll make some nice videos that I hope to make monthly. Number 8, when did you start writing? I was 6 years old and I graduated from my first school and they gave me an autograph book, and it just immediately popped into my head that I should write a picture book in it. My sister had an egregious case of the chickenpox, which she got from me because she was fascinated by my chickenpox, so she got hers really badly. So I wrote a whole book about how my sister has the chickenpox in all sorts of weather and situations. Like, my sister has the chickenpox in the rain. My sister has the chickenpox when she's asleep or awake. And then it ended on the last page with, my sister is all better. And I did all of the illustrations with a marker for that story, and I'd run over to my mom to write the words that I asked her to write, until finally she told me that I had to write at least 1 page. And sadly, my handwriting hasn't gotten much better since then. Number 9, what is the first story that you ever wrote? I believe since my sister has the chickenpox, I dabbled in rambling a lot of little short stories as a kid. But the one that really sticks out to me was my first novel when I was 11 years old. It was called Captured by Fate, and it was a whopping 81 handwritten pages. Captured by Fate was a medieval fantasy novel about a young peasant, Colin Bugle, who went off to fight the dragon Agnosta and win the hand of Princess Heather. I still say there were some great things about that novel. At the very least, my own enthusiasm, which is something that's definitely very well needed for continuing your craft as you're going along. But I will admit that there were a lot of anachronisms. And one of the ways that I've grown the most as a writer, and probably the best way that I've grown, is that I can accept more criticism now than I could at 11 years old, where it drove me mad. So one of the more amusing parts of Captured by Fate was that I was insistent that my villain, Heather's evil fiancé, would be named Bill. Prince Bill. And my parents tried to explain to me that with my medieval setting, it would probably make more sense to name him Prince William. But to me, William was a name that I liked, and Bill was a name that I hated. So of course the villain would be named Bill. I mean, duh. But on a brighter note, my sister loved my story so much as I was writing it that when she wrote one of her own, she had her character have a copy of Captured by Fate in his desk. And I don't know if even in these days, compliments can get much better than that. Number 10, which authors have inspired you the most? For this one, I'm going to go especially with 2 literary novelists from today, Allegra Goodman and Jhumpa Lahiri. Allegra Goodman writes fascinating characters. You get right into their heads and see in their interior lives what they think and feel and how they change in just a really wonderful, nuanced way. She's also really good at exploring closed-off communities and then also juxtaposing people from different communities together, which comes together in a social criticism sort of way that delves into the artistry and academia and tech worlds and so forth of today's day and age. Jhumpa Lahiri is a beautiful lyrical writer, and she writes so well about how people fit into their own communities. She deals a lot with the Indian American immigrant community, and I feel a lot for it because of how similar the way she writes can be toward the Jewish American community. She's also one of those people, I think, who can flit easily between short stories and novels, and that her short stories are as richly drawn as her novels. And finally, I want to give a shout out to J.K. Rowling. Not because of the Harry Potter series, although I am a millennial. I love them. I had seminal experiences in my life because of them, and my novella is rather indirectly based on the Potter novels. Very indirectly, but it's there. But I really want to give a shout out to The Casual Vacancy. I believe it got way less acclaim than it deserved just because of who she was as an author. But it was just such a stunning look at socioeconomic issues with characters who were all flawed. She wrote so many different POV characters. They were all so different from one another. And she kept up the suspense in the plot. I almost feel like I have to thank J.K. Rowling just as much for my interest in literary fiction as I do in my interest in the Potter novels. Number 11, do you schedule writing sessions or do you sit down to write simply when you have the time? This is probably when I should bring back Septa Unella. Shame, shame, shame. I have been egregiously bad at scheduling writing sessions. I'm really thrilled that I'm part of a critique writing group now and that I'm hopefully setting all of these goals for myself, goals with deadlines, so that I get stuff done. I'm hoping to move in the right direction here. Number 12 is a two-parter. The first part is, do you type on a typewriter, a computer, or do you write by hand? I do occasionally get just that itch to write by hand the way that I started writing when I was a kid. Having those notebooks filled with my pigeon scratch, which is part of the problem of writing by hand, is that even I sometimes can't read it. Plus, it's double the work because I have to type it up anyway, so I'm trying to get more into the computer, and I'm pretty much there. I primarily write on the computer. The second part of this question is, where do you write in general? And I generally write in my quietish condo on my couch. I find that I can edit and I can write nonfiction when I'm in more loud or public situations like Panera or Barnes & Noble or coffee shops, but it's a lot easier for me to do the first drafts of things or to do raw writing when I'm at home in a quiet environment, and plus, you never have to worry about things closing down and having to leave. And finally, number 13, what are you looking forward to now that you're part of AuthorTube? Already I love the parts of AuthorTube where people share their journeys and share their advice to other authors about how to brainstorm stories and write them and go through all the processes of creating and marketing stories. I mean, AuthorTube is what modern day marketing looks like for a lot of people who are trying to get their foot in the door of some sort of publishing and getting a readership. So that's been really fascinating. I also really hope to cheer on victories together, and again, I'm hoping to hold myself accountable and to earn that author title. That's about it for now. I think that went really well, although I'll have to do a lot of editing, just like writing. I'd love to hear your writing journeys down below, and thanks so much, especially if you stuck with me all the way through this, and I'll see you next time.